mountain, gotta reach for the sky. If you want it, fight for it, or kiss it goodbye. It's make it or break it, try to survive. Don't ever say never, keep your dream alive.
Did you have some lag in the beginning of that for you? Because I definitely did for me. He's Blake. I'm Ronnie. All the good names are taken podcast. After a week off, Blake, we're back. How are things going?
Not good. I had to watch the Barbarians. Is it the Barbarians or the Barbarian Brothers?
They were known as the Barbarian Brothers, but the movie's the Barbarians.
I won't do this again.
Well, we won't review the Barbarians twice.
Well, what I'm saying is I will look into a movie before we review it, and if it's anything like this, I won't. You can get Tim on here for this.
No, it's me and you. You got to take what's thrown at you. So
this was tough. This was tough.
It was tough. Big week for the channel, Blake. We sat down with Vincent Dasani, director of Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow, and apparently like a ton of other stuff we've never even heard of. And what'd you think about that interview?
It's all right.
That's it?
I mean, what do you want me to say? He's a super nice guy, and he's
That's exactly what I want you to say.
Well, I would never say that to him.
Not to his face. He was now one thing I will say about this guy, he doesn't turn down a channel. Obviously, he was on ours, but he also has like his spiel down to like a science. He knows exactly what he wants to say. I guess because he gets asked the same questions all the time. And I thought it was really neat when we threw him for a loop with some of the stuff that we did, that he just rolled with the punches. And we got an email afterwards, and he said he had a great time and looks forward to coming back on at the end of the summer, which should be about the time, he said, right, when he's wrapping up the Never Hike Alone 2.
Yep, that's correct.
Now, I want to save this for one of our Friday the 13th videos, but do you think he kills Tommy Jarvis in his movie? Do you think he lets Jason and Tommy Jarvis die together?
I don't think he does. I think, like Laurie Strode, I think Tommy Jarvis. Is Tommy Jarvis the Laurie Strode of Friday the 13th, Ronnie?
Great question. Great question. Tommy Jarvis is the Laurie Strode of the Friday. He's the only main character to come back multiple times, right?
Yeah, so you're asking, does Vinny have the balls to do what Gordon Green wouldn't do? His original ending was, Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael dying at the end of 2018. So you're asking, does Vinny have the balls to do that? I don't know. I don't know if I want to see that, especially. I don't want to see that in a fan film, like save it for a bigger stage. But
at this point, I mean, he's not going to get a nationwide release, but he told us he acquired enough funding to do a full feature film. So it won't be like a 30-minute Never Hike, in the snow or whatever, but it will be like, I'm guessing 80 to 90 minutes, 80 to 90-minute movie. I think he's going to kill both of them, because he made that comment in our interview about Old Yeller. And even though you love Old Yeller, you got to go in the backyard and put him down when he gets rabid. So maybe he's talking about the fact that Tommy's too far gone and he's crazy, and obviously Jason needs to die. So I think he kills both of them. I really do. And I wish I had thought about this while he was talking and just point blank asked him to see if he'd tell us. But
yeah, I'm sure he would have.
But anyway, here is my thing, Blake, and you may disagree. I say no more guests unless it's Kurt Russell. I say no more guests or interviews for a while. I say we stick to certain people. We bring them on. We talk movies, but no guests that we have to like actually interview and entertain or something like this. We can bring on the regular crew. Let them talk Friday the 13th. Let them talk Scream. Let them talk Halloween. Let them talk whatever they want to talk. But no more interviews for right now. No more interviews. Everything that goes into getting an interview, Blake, the badgering of the person, I despise all of it. And at the same time, I feel like, hey, I got to do this because me and Blake, if we land a guy like Vincent Dasani, it's going to bring more eyes to the channel, and maybe we get more people that hang around. And I just don't know if it's worth it. I mean, I don't even know if I want half these people to hang around, if that makes sense. I like it just being me and you and Boz. And every now and then Nick Push joins us in the chat and discusses some stuff, and we get the heck out of here. I mean, the more people we invite into this world, Blake, the more trouble we're inviting for ourselves because we can't get along with anybody.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think just eventually we always rub people the wrong way, and we're back. It's back to being just us.
Yeah, looking around and the realm of nothingness. I don't know. I don't know. Some exciting things we got coming for the channel. At least we think they're exciting. We're going to throw some new slants on some old concepts and see if you guys like it. But that's another chat for another day. Let's get right into it, Blake, because me and Blake have agreed pre-show. This will not be a 90-minute stream. This will not be a 60-minute stream. We're getting right into the Barbarians. We're going to get into the meat and the potatoes and end this bad boy.
Hey, I just hit hour 72 of my fast, Ronnie.
Tell me more about this.
Well, no, I mean, there's not much to say. I decided to do a little fast, and I don't have a set, I don't have a set time of when I'm going to break this fast. I'm just, whenever I get hungry, I don't. No headaches, no weakness, no funny feelings. Whenever I get hungry, I'm going to eat. And my last meal that I had was Sunday night. So we just hit 72 hours in the past 10 minutes. So, I was reading online, some people do this for like 15 days. Somebody even went 21 days, but I don't think I'm going to do that. But I've been stuck at a certain weight. I've been eating really healthy for the past year, and I've been stuck at a certain weight for about 3 months now. And
I had Mr. Good Bar today. I'm supposed to be like sugar free because of my condition.
Look, and I still say we need to do our draft on candy bars because Mr. Good Bar, underrated.
We don't have a draft yet for January. You assemble the crew because it's the hardest. It's like just trying to get the herd cats together. Nobody can agree on anything. Like Sleazy texted me today and was like, hey, this would be a good review. And I was like, dude, where you been? First thing I noticed is he sent the text through Siri. And I was like, are you so big now that you got to send a text through Siri? I don't understand it at all.
I mean, I can assemble a crew. You probably won't like it, but I can get a crew together in about 2 days.
Vincent Dasani donates to.
What was that?
Nothing. Okay, I was trying to make something work and it didn't work. You ready to get into it, Blake?
Sure, and I'll go ahead and tell you, you're going to have to carry this one just like you carry all of them. I can't tell you what's going on at any point in this movie.
What are their names?
David and Peter.
Hey, Peter, man. Okay, so let's get the Barbarian Brothers. The reason we're reviewing the Barbarians is, one, these are guys from the movie I first saw, DC Cab. I'm not sure how many of you guys have seen DC Cab. Our theme song comes from DC Cab. Eventually, we won't be able to use this theme song anymore because it will get copyrighted. But these guys were like gigantors, like 2 Arnold Schwarzeneggers. They were just jacked up. And throughout my youth, I remember going to the VHS rental stores and seeing like Double Trouble and Think Big. That was always up on the action aisle. And I rented them. So, I mean, and on our audio podcast, we reviewed Think Big where they're driving in the 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
And Blake liked that one apparently a lot more than he likes this one. But it's just something nostalgic about these brothers to me because they were the epitome of the 80s and 90s. They were jacked up steroid freaks and they became famous somehow. They got in a movie and they couldn't just leave well enough alone. Not only did they want to be actors, they wanted to be singers. They wanted to be comedians. So, I mean, people who start like Arnold Schwarzenegger, people who started as fitness experts get a little take. It's something that's always fascinated me, Blake. People that become famous, like actors, eventually acting is not enough for them anymore. They want to be singers. And singers, eventually singing is not enough for them. They want to be actors. So, and the people who win the lottery, they spend all their money on restaurants and car lots and stuff like that and wonder why they're broke. They're all idiots. All right, here we go. You know it's quality when it starts off with the Canon logo. Now, one thing I'll tell you about this movie, Blake, and let me know if I'm talking too much, is you've always made fun of me when I say this, I love the scenery. I love the background images of this movie. And the first thing I did is I went to IMDb to actually see if this was fake background, the majority of it, or if some of these were real settings. And the movie was filmed over in Italy. So the majority of these background images are real images.
Yeah, I love how these two idiots parlayed this into a vacation in Italy.
Caden James, Hogan and Arnold Schwarzenegger, I almost said Andre, should have been the leads. Now let's think about this for a second, Blake. What two jacked up muscle heads could you have put in this movie that would have made it better? And what I mean by that is obviously the Barbarian Brothers was ripping off Conan the Barbarian. I mean, that's what they were doing. The popularity of Red Sonja, Conan the Barbarian. So who could you have put at this time in 1987 to make this movie better?
Well, are you going to leave the comedy element in? Are you going to leave
absolutely. I think that's what makes this movie unique is it's not the standard sword fighting movie. For some reason, these guys have a Jersey East Coast accent and they're talking and they're ridiculous. And I think that's a unique factor to this movie is because you get the jacked up bodies, you get the sword fights, you get the monsters, you get the villains, and then you get two goofballs who can't act, so they always play themselves.
I'll probably go with like Jesse the Body Ventura. And was this 87?
87.
So, I mean, could you do Dolph Lundgren in 87?
It's the first one I thought of. He's just coming off He-Man.
Coming off He-Man, Masters of the Universe. You know, you're pretty much wearing the same outfit from that film to this one. So I'd say Jesse the Body Ventura and Dolph Lundgren could step in. And
Canon produced He-Man and Masters. You put Dolph Lundgren in this movie. Was realistically people that you could get Dolph Lundgren and Charles Bronson, and they're the Barbarian Brothers.
That is realistic.
Well, Charles Bronson was under that contract to Canon, so they owned him. All right, so I thought this was a really cool opening title scene right here, if you will.
Yeah.
And with the in the background, you've got actual like where people have died and they've hung their armor over where they were buried. The Barbarians. I don't know why everything looks. Oh, now I know why it looks weird because the background. Anyway, the beginning of this movie, and I told you, Blake, when we first started, I was like, dude, if you can make it through the first 29 minutes of this movie, it becomes a lot easier to watch. And when I told you, I should have never told you that, but I thought, well, he's not going to make it through these 29 minutes because
those pants are corduroy. Those are corduroy.
Because the beginning of the movie opens up with like the Oregon Trail. I don't know if these people are supposed to be a traveling circus.
Yeah, they are.
Or if they're a traveling like dynasty or what's going on. All I know is circus performers. And we get to see every freaking wagon. And I love that they all come into play. Like this chick right here, his name in the movie is Canary. We're supposed to assume she's magic. So if we're going by the He-Man route, she's like the sorceress. What's up? Nick Push is in the chat. Make sure you head over and subscribe to Nick Push. We're trying to get him to 3,000.
What's up, Nick?
She's like the sorceress, and she's sitting next to Amazing Larry from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and this Skullet guy right here on the left.
Are we to assume the guy to her left is an Indian with the war paint?
Yes, I would assume that's supposed to be a Native American.
Okay.
So
a guardian?
Yes, like Chooch. We get to see every single wagon, and they show you every aspect. Like Homeboy down here in the bottom, he has, let me see this 1 second. Homeboy down here at the bottom is a clown. Up there at the top, we have the person that's juggling fire.
Yeah.
And no circus is complete without a midget. So this midget clown comes into play because we're introduced to the Barbarian Brothers at a young age. And apparently they're S-head kids because they keep shoving the clown off, and there's a girl with them. Now, this is an example, Blake, of the background that I told you that's beautiful. I mean, like you said, these two meatheads worked their way into an Italian vacation. So this comes into play. And if I'm going fast, it's because I'm going fast. There's a mark that each person in this, you call it a circus, Blake. I think this is a tribe. I want to think this is like a traveling kingdom because people know about them. Like Richard Lynch here in a minute is fixing to try to attack them to get this stone. So just to think they're a circus is ridiculous, but I don't understand what's going on. So each one of the people that belong to this tribe have a mark on the back of their neck. This is actually a tattoo being given to these guys right here. Paul Rubens is in the movie. And believe it or not, Blake, that's his wife. Later in the movie, she's like, husband, I thought this was a chick.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're going to, isn't this a comedian?
I don't know who he is. I just
Isn't
know
this like his name's like Emo Phillips or something like that?
Dude, I have zero clue. You got the computer right there in front of you. Check it out. I thought this guy was the guy who played Death in Supernatural. I'm sure he's not because he was 1,000,000 years old back then. This used to be one of the favorite parts of the movie for me when I was a kid is seeing this guy's hair. It's crazy. And what's the deal with the paint? Why is she painted up? This makes zero sense. And then there's a whole trailer of what looks like prostitutes here in a minute. This guy right here. This guy right here is nuts. He's literally doing the gymnastics while they're going down the Oregon Trail. So this is just a setup to show us that this is some kind of fun-loving, traveling, I don't know what. See, here we go.
I was wrong, Ronnie. That's not a famous comedian. Turns out nobody in this movie is famous except for Richard Lynch.
Yeah, Richard Lynch.
And Eva LaRue, the young girl who ends up being the queen.
The guy's throwing axes at chicks that are half dressed. Now we're back to Canary here, who's the sorceress. What's the deal with the thing on top of her head? Is she like Sanatos from Mr. Nanny? Did she get the top of her head blowed off and that's like part of her skull?
I think that's just to let you know that she's royalty. And listen, Canary is sneaky hot.
Here's the deal. You just said she's royalty, but you also a few minutes ago said this was a traveling circus. So which one? I think this is like a traveling kingdom.
She's queen of the circus. They travel around and make people happy with music and stuff, Ronnie. That's what this is. So maybe, I mean, I think we're both right. I think we're both right because she was gifted this jewel. What is that? What is happening here?
This is child trafficking 2023. This is the big woman in the back that takes care of all the kids and paints them up. The two kids on the bottom right. Those are the Barbarian Brothers. What are their names? Gore and Kuchak. And then the little girl right here that's sitting in Fatty's lap, that's Kara, who's going to end up being Eva LaRue later in the movie. Now, guess why I chose this right here? Look at this freaking scenery right here, Blake.
Yeah, man. I mean, this really brings the movie together.
And of course, just like with anything, Blake, you can't have a good time without people trying to ruin it. There on the far left, you got the guy from Superman 2. The guy on the far right is some kind of trap jaw from He-Man ripoff. But I want to focus the attention on the guy in the middle, Blake. What happened to him? Negan?
It looks like he took a missile to the face. I mean, I don't see an ear on that left side. I don't know. But can we take a moment while we're making fun of everything to talk about like the wardrobes here? I mean, I think everything looks really good. I think the costumes look good, and this isn't bad makeup for a 87 Canon film. Like, well, I mean, I say that like the middle guy looks awesome. You wonder what happened to him. The guy on the right, you don't know what his deal is. It's got like a Bane thing going on from Batman. And then the guy on the left, you're like, hey, we ran out of stuff, man. So here you go.
You just got to look like Michael Myers in Halloween Ends when I pull the mask off with that little beard type thing there. I think he's like a werewolf and he's mid transformation. You're talking about the costumes and the scenery and things like that, Blake. $4 million budget for this movie. They spent $4 million. So they really pumped money into this, and it only made 800,000. Imagine that. But
sad.
Real quick, back to this before we talk about Richard Lynch. It always fascinates me with these guys who have, like the guy in the middle, something happened to him. He's got skin that's pulled over his eye, but yet you can see through little slits in the skin. I mean, there's no way in the world that would ever happen. It makes for a cool villain.
I mean, can we see the tape on his forehead that's holding that stuff together, Ronnie?
Is that what it is?
I think so. I think that's what's holding everything in place.
Or the wrinkle in the skull cap right there in his cowlick?
Yeah.
There we go. So
he needs to comb that hair.
Richard Lynch, the most famous person in this movie, Richard Lynch of, I know he's been in 1,000 different things.
Rob Zombie's Halloween, Ronnie. He's the principal.
And he looks like he's a burn victim in that movie. But I know him. I will always know him from Invasion USA.
Oh, yeah. Is that where he puts the gun in the pants?
I don't know if he puts the gun. No, he don't put a gun.
He shoots somebody
in the crotch.
Am I thinking of a different movie?
That may be the movie. I just remember his scene where he walks in and somebody's doing coke and he slams his head down on the metal thing and it goes up his nose and kills him.
Hey, about 6 rows down, is that Miho? Is that Sam Elliott from Roadhouse?
The one looking forward there? I think they arrested him on January 6th. Look at that guy. He's got a cool weapon right there, too.
He does, man. Look, he can grab some stuff with that.
Hey, new kingdom, same story. Hey, Miho. Back to Paul Rubens here. So they attack Blake. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is going to be a slaughter. But
is he a pharaoh?
All these, I don't know what he is. He's got magic. He knows magic. These guys start using their circus or whatever it is training to fight off these guys. Like Hairdo here, he's throwing the ball right here that you look in to get the future. He throws it and it explodes and kills some of these guys. Some of the people are blowing fire, like the fire breather. He's blowing fire into the guy's face. The guy throwing the axes is throwing the axes at him. They actually fend off the low-level bad guys for the longest time, and it takes Richard Lynch coming in here at the end to have to swoop in and take them down. And he gets the sorceress or canary, and he tells her, "You're coming with me. We need the stone. The stone is magic." He's even got his own evil in here in a minute about this chick. But while this is going on, Blake, the two boys attack this guy. What's his name in the movie? I called him Three Finger. He attacks him, and they bite off 2 of his fingers. And this is going to come into play later in the movie.
His name is Kadar, Ronnie.
All right, so Kadar, Richard Lynch, Three Finger, wants these kids murderized. Kill them. Get them gone. And Canary goes, "No, please don't kill them. I will be your slave. I will be your woman. You can take me if you let them live." And he makes a pact with her. He says, "Okay, they will not die by my hand." And now we've got a movie. Here's some more great sets, Blake, right here. Yep. They go into this Kadar's kingdom, and you get to see how crazy this looks, filled with horrible people, men ravaging women.
I disagree. This looks like a really fun time. And at this point in the movie, Ronnie, I'm questioning who's the good guys and who's the bad guys here.
You got the guy from Weird Science over here with the horn on his head. I think his name's Dirtbag. Nope, Dirt Master. He's going to be the guy that ends up training the 2 twins how to fight. The chick right there, that's Evil Lynn. She gets one look into these little kids' souls, and she's like, "You need to kill." She tells Kadar, "You need to kill these guys right now." And he goes, "They will not die by my hand. I have made a pact." So she throws some kind of spider web crap on them like this right here. I really didn't understand it, but it made me think of Vincent Dasani when he said the spider web in Never Hike in the Snow. So he might have been calling back to this right here. I wish we'd have seen this movie before we interviewed him. We could ask him if he borrowed that from the Barbarians.
I mean, he definitely did, Ronnie. I mean, Vincent Dasani, huge Barbarian Brothers fan, huge Barbarians film fan. I'm sure he's seen Think Big and Twin Sitters as well.
So this guy right here has always fascinated me. The Hills Have Eyes is what he's best known for. He apparently lost the lottery on being born. The worst genetics you've ever seen. One of the ugliest human beings ever. But apparently he's a really nice guy. He got a ton of roles, and he's one of the ones that popped me the most in Weird Science at the end of it when they come through there like Mad Max. And then when they get tough with him, he's like, could you not tell anybody about this? I teach high school or something like that. It was something really funny there at the very end. But he's given control of these kids. And I thought it was funny because I don't know if you noticed this, Blake. One of the Barbarian brothers is always trained and he has to fight somebody in a black helmet. The other Barbarian brother is trained and he always has to fight somebody in a gold helmet. And they're doing this because they got the long con in, their long-term booking, if you will, because they know once they get old enough, they're going to put them in the ring with each other and let them kill themselves by putting each other in the costumes of the person that's been abusing them their whole life. And along the way, you get to see that these guys are really good guys. Like the kids run and give water to some of these slaves that are falling out. And it reminded me of the Three Stooges movie, Three Stooges Meet Hercules or whatever, because you see them grow from a little kid into a gigantic, hulking, roided up loser right here. And you can, like, it goes back to what you said about the costumes. I mean, this is top-notch costumes in this movie, Blake. And that is the most jacked up guy I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder. We make this joke anytime we see someone jacked up in the 80s. Like, why didn't WCW or WWF call these guys? I mean, all you had to do was have a look back then. You didn't have to have any talent, really. But I got a question for you. Did China, which is Evil Lynn or whatever, did she put some kind of spell on them to make them age? Because nobody else in the movie ages except for like the three orphans. Or are we to believe they're like 16 right here?
Great question. I thought the same thing because the blonde chick that's married to Paul Rubens, she didn't get any older. Paul Rubens didn't get any older. Canary didn't get any older. Richard Lynch didn't get any older. Everybody, maybe it's a place in time where you get to a certain age and you just stay there. Nobody gets old. Like it's
what about Kadar though?
Well, maybe he's like 26 and it's just been like city miles on him.
I got you.
They make them square off, Blake, in a fight. And all these scumbags are hanging through the cage on them, and they're swinging the swords around. And it's really one of the better parts of the movie to see these two big bastards fighting. And he swings the sword and cuts this guy's hand off. And even after the guy's hand got cut off, he's like laughing and playing. And then he looks down to see that his hand's gone. I mean, that's very unrealistic.
No, it takes a couple of minutes for the shock to set in. So I think it was good writing.
Look at these two guys, Blake. I was super impressed with the headgear, and later on we get the gold body gear that you would see on He-Man action figures. It just harkens me back to a time that I wish they would have made a true blue He-Man movie set in Eternia, and not that bull crap we got where they go to Detroit, which now if they set a He-Man movie in Detroit, it would be sort of like Eternia because Detroit is dead.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a $4 million budget and all that beautiful scenery and open space. How come we were fighting in like a 3x3 hallway right here? I mean, we couldn't expand this. We couldn't get like a gladiator arena or something like that. I mean, did you notice how small and tight this was?
Well, maybe it was for a reason. Maybe they wanted to get them in there so they knew they had to kill each other. Here's what's great to me. You get to find out that these guys, I mean, you learn it later on, but they're really stupid. Like he knocks the helmet off of his brother and he goes, "How did you get my face?" Did he forget that he had a twin brother? I mean, what are we supposed to, or is he just that stupid?
Well, I mean, the other brother, I think it's Kuchik. He's the one who says, Ivar or whatever his name is, "You idiot, I'm your brother." And, they go back and forth not believing each other, even though that one just said it like he didn't believe it either. And I thought you was dead. They told me you were dead. They told me the same thing.
Look at that guy in the middle there. He's like cheering them on. Kill somebody. Do something. And they're making Canary watch all this. They're like, these guys are going to kill themselves. And he's like, "You promised." And they realize what's going on when they see Canary. This is your trailer shot right here, Blake. This is your poster. These two guys, this is probably the best, the most handsome they look in the movie.
Yeah.
And without them looking stupid. And they're looking up to notice Canary's up there. And then that's when they start tearing this place apart. I mean, and then they get out of there. Watching these guys run is the best. They jump onto a horse, and the horse had to be going, are you serious right now? Come on. And watching these, I want the bloopers of this movie. I want to know how many times they fell off the horse.
Well, I mean, there's definitely bloopers, right? 3 horses died in the making of this movie. There's no doubt from just these 2 mongoloids riding them. But you know what, dude? You're starting to turn me on this movie. Like, if you show me a still of this picture right here, and you're like, hey, this is a movie from the 80s. I'm like, oh, I want to see it. It's 2 jacked up dudes, and it's called The Barbarians. Like, let's go,
Exactly. So the rest of the movie, they get out of there really quickly. Somehow these 2 gigantors escape, and they don't try to chase them or anything like that. They find this chick in the woods, and she's been captured by the traveling circus. So this brings up a whole new set of questions, Blake. First off, they knew exactly where to go to try to find their old tribe. So why are they all traveling at the very beginning of it? Is it, in fact, a circus and they're going town to town, but they always come back to this area right here? And why didn't Richard Lynch or Kadar or Three Finger, or whatever his name is, why didn't they just attack them at their home base here? Why are they trying to get them on the Oregon Trail?
I mean, he's pretty much got everything he needs, right? I mean, he has no reason to come back and attack the flunkies. But I'm assuming he don't think the Barbarian Brothers would find this, because since they didn't know where they were to begin with. So yeah, I don't know. A lot of it doesn't make sense to me. She actually ended up being one of the bigger stars of this movie. She was on like 1,000 episodes of CSI and some other TV shows and stuff like that. Eva LaRue is her name.
Real quick, $5 Venmo donation from Caden. I'm not going to read his message, but he ends it with "I love you." So thanks for the $5 in Venmo down there. Thank you, buddy.
Right? Isn't that part of the agreement? You have to read his message.
Yeah, I can't read it. We're a family show, so I mean, it started with eat. I'll just say that. So there you go. Anyway, back to this right here. This whole group captured this girl, and they never checked behind her ear. That's the big thing later in the movie. They check behind her ear and see that she's got the branding. Because
I thought you were going to say she had a quarter.
No, she didn't have a quarter. She's got something behind her ear, and they should have known from the very beginning, hey, this is Cara. But they're finna kill her. They're finna hang her. They all come hanging out of the bushes, and you can tell for 20 years or however long it's supposed to have been, these guys have had it rough. Like the clown down there, the midget clown, his makeup has gotten
it's faded a bit.
Yeah, faded. The chicks, she's looking pudgy. Paul Rubens looks all worn out. This guy over here that's super offensive. I don't know what he's supposed to be, but he's whiteface. He's in whiteface. And the back, you got a whole crew of it looks like the Warriors from back in the day. I don't know what's going on here, but they're not. And these guys, they tell them, they say, hey, we're Kadar and Gore and Kuchek or whatever their names are. We're back. And there's like, no, there's no way you're those two. Those two died. They didn't check behind their head until after they tried to hang them. They just put them up there and they hung these people like it was no big deal. So it made me believe that these guys had went full rogue.
Well, I'd argue the fact that this traveling circus has been attacked, so many times that they just immediately couldn't trust anybody new, similar to the groups in The Walking Dead. Anytime somebody new comes along, you got to take care of it.
Good point. And look, the chick down here, I'm gonna back it up. I don't know if I have the thing or not, but the blonde chick down here, she's like, what if they are Gore and Kuchek? And he's like, there's no way. And they just like, oh, I went way off. And they just they kicked him forward and he's hanging there. And then he starts making that noise. Blake, I don't know if I have the lung capacity. And he flexes his neck muscle and he just breaks the noose from his neck. And then the other guy rips the branch down and they're just down there laughing, and the chick's laughing because she knows she's not going to get hung. I thought it would have been hilarious if they would have kicked her off of there and hung her and she'd have died while those two were down there laughing. But this is when they decide to check and say, oh, you guys are the twins. Oh, that's great. And then they say they're going to save Canary. And the reason
in this still you got on the screen here, it looks like everything is big on Kuchik except for one thing.
Yeah, I know, but it also could be pulled back. So you never know what's going on there. I also noticed that with their outfits, you could tell one of them was a little bit more impressed with their bottom physique than the other one, because one of them is like full whole backside showing the whole movie, and the other one's got his backside covered up. So you can tell who was self-conscious and who wasn't self-conscious. But Kara over there to the right, she tells them she knows how they can go and buy, I done got worded up, weapons from somebody. So we get our scene where they all ride off on the horse, those poor horses. And this guy right here is an arms dealer. And back in the day, apparently to buy illegal arms, you had to arm wrestle. And like they were laughing at this guy until he actually stood up and he was 8 feet tall. And that's when you get like the first argument between them, because that one guy's like, hey, I'll do it. And he goes, no, I'll do it. And he goes, no, I'll do it. And he goes, no, I'll do it. And this guy stands up and he's a good 6'7". And they're like, okay, you can do it. But I mean, this is a great ending. I wish I'd had the video clip of this, because when he slams this guy down, like the whole end of the table breaks. And then it's like a brawl, Pier 6 brawl, and they're getting after it.
Scene of the movie right here, Ronnie. Scene of the freaking movie.
They sneak in to the bad guy's lair, and they have sheets over them, and they have to pretend to be drunken guys that are kissing to not get caught. And while they're kissing, the one brother manages to wink at the other brother to let him know this is not a real kiss. I'm just trying to keep us from getting killed.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be one of them things like you see in, other older movies where they pretend to kiss or whatever, and one of them ends up liking it, and then it leads to something, but they didn't go that route.
They actually sneak in, and the chick, Kara, she like warns them. She goes, I've heard that Kadar, or whatever his name is, Kadar, Three Finger, Richard Lynch, hasn't been paying attention to his other women because he's so in love with Canary. So if you go in there where his women are, you could get attacked. And this excited them. This was actually like a Me Too scene, because all those women were asleep and they were just constantly going through there doing inappropriate things to them. And they get up to Canary, and I'm like, okay, this movie's over. They're finna save the sorceress and they're finna get out of there. But nope, the sorceress says you can't go. You got to go get the medallion. I know where it's at.
Hey, look, canary in a cage, Ronnie.
Is that good call? Here's something that like really, I don't know, disturbed me, Blake, because this character admits that she's a scumbag. But the two guys, they end up all night with all those women once the women see they're in there. And
did Canary have to watch that?
I would guess so. I mean, unless she just like put the pillow over her head and went to sleep. So when they come out the next morning, she comes out from underneath all these scumbags. So she's been asleep underneath all these men all night to stay warm. So there's just certain aspects of this movie that I don't understand. I only want to know what they were doing to keep warm.
No, nothing happened, because in order for her to become the queen at the end, she's a virgin. So,
no, she specifically tells them she's not a virgin.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, that's part of the movie. Now, China right here and Hornhead, they get told that she told where the medallion, the ruby is, and they go against Three Fingers' wishes and they whip her to sleep. And she's like all messed up. Up until that point, she hadn't been punished or anything like that. And they head out to go get the medallion or the ruby or whatever it's called and leave Richard Lynch back there. And he finds his squeeze all beat to sleep. And they stole the thing off the top of her head too. So you get to see right there, she does have the top of her skull.
Yeah.
So this is where these are the parts of the movie, Blake, that even though the acting is atrocious, the dialogue is awful, but things like this, they have to go and get the ruby that's protected, and it's in a secret cave behind a waterfall, and they go through there, and here's the weapons they're trying to get, and you can see that serpent right there, and you can see that some warrior has died down there, and they're going to get that axe, and they're going to get that sword, and they're going to get that big thing that looks like a championship belt. And I mean, I love the outfits in this movie. Meanwhile, China and Dirthead, they get killed by this serpent when they go to get it. And we find that later on that happened. this is one of the scenes where they're arguing because this right here, it looks like he looks like he's having more fun with the axe. So he's like, hey, give me the axe. And he goes, okay. And then he hands him the sword. And then he looks like he's having more fun with the sword. And he's like, hey, well, give me the axe. And you get that multiple times in this movie where they're like, hey, give me this, give me that.
Filler.
You think that's what it is?
Yeah.
Well, look, okay, out of the two of them right here, Blake, which one had the best outfit? Are you the armor guy, or are you like the circular thing right there over the midsection?
I like the listen, I like the thing over the midsection.
Here's one thing that I didn't understand. Look how great this Wolfman looks. I thought there was going to be like a huge battle with them and what appears to be a Wolfman. It shows him multiple times watching them as he enters the cave. And I was like, here we go. It's just like a Nintendo video game. They're going to have to beat a boss every time they go to a section. But he jumps down there and they cut his head off in like 2 seconds. It's like the Indiana Jones moment. They cut his head off, and then this big sucker's got his head, and he's like, get right there like the dog-faced gremlin. I think I'm going to go. Okay, look, if I was jacked up like him, I think I would go with the arm thing because then you can still see my midsection. Where if somebody tries to stab you, though, how good is that armor going to do in the first place?
Well, I mean, is that sword going to break through those muscles? I mean,
Blake, did we mention it has a dragon in it?
no, not yet.
This movie has a dragon in it, and they have to.
I'll be honest, Ronnie. In this cave or wherever they're at, this is where the movie lost me. So all this is going to be new to me as you explain it.
So you just turned the movie off, is what you're saying?
No, I didn't turn it off, but I was staring at the TV, but I can't tell you anything that happened.
Well, this dragon is pretty cool, dude, because it looks sort of like a morph dog from the movie The Thing, and it's like a giant lizard type thing. And Kara has a great plan. She drops the two guys into a hole, and then she leads it over the hole. And when it gets over them, they start stabbing it underneath in the guts. They start beating the guts of it.
Gut buster.
And all this stuff falls down on this green guts and stuff falls down on them, and they kill it. But that's not the last thing that happens. It was like an Evil Dead moment right here because they're like covered in green blood. And I'm wondering if they're covered in green blood for MPAA reasons. I don't know. I don't know if this was rated R or rated PG or what it was. I'm assuming it was probably rated R. But they climb up inside. This scene right here, Blake, is them inside the actual dragon, and they find the ruby, the jewel that they're looking for that has the magical powers. It's in China's hand, and she's been eaten by the dragon right here, so they're able to get it.
This movie is rated R. Lots of nudity, Ronnie.
That's true.
That's probably why it was only able to make 800,000. Is kids couldn't go see it.
So the sorceress Canary gets killed. They go out to the swamp, her and Richard Lynch, and she puts some kind of spell on him, and she's doing like the quick side to side, and she's like mess with his vision, and he knows she's up to something, and he just starts trying to stab at her because he wants to kill her, and then eventually he's able to get her right in the chest, and she dies. And when she dies, the ruby,
it turns to stone.
Yeah, it's no longer lit anymore. And like he's like, this is like a touching scene with him. He feels bad. He's heartbroken that he killed her, but he had to because she was trying to kill him. So it's a big deal. And if you look how much blood's on that sword, you get to see just how deep he stabbed her, which probably would have went all the way through her. I don't know if the people on set were thinking about that at the time. So Kara goes back with the jewel. They actually trust her. And believe it or not, one of these meatheads has been calling her Kara the whole time, even though her name was like Ismene or something like this. She doesn't admit to being Kara till she gets here. And she's got the jewel, and it's not lit up. Like you said, it turned to stone. And like Paul Rubens is like, oh, well, then the canary's dead. The magic is dead. The magic is gone. And all of a sudden it lights back up, and they say, well, there must be somebody else. So they trot out all the virgins to have them see if they're worthy of being the queen. And apparently sort of like Cinderella trying on the shoe, if the ruby stays in your belly button, then you're the queen. So I definitely would have been the queen because that thing would have fit in my belly button easily.
Yeah, you and I would have been the queen of that place in no time with the size of our belly buttons. But I was very disappointed that nobody was sporting an Audi Audi belly button when they went to test it out. Everybody had regular ones, and there you have it. The steel. You're right. It looks like Kuchik is more proud of his ass than Igor, whatever his name is.
Yeah, so this is the big fight scene at the very end of it. It's the Barbarian Brothers against Richard Lynch, and he rides back and forth, and you get to see he actually does damage here. He does like a Matrix move where he falls back, and I'm pretty sure this was really Richard Lynch that did this stunt. He falls backwards behind the horse, and he stabs both of them in the midsection, and they're all cut up. And then they do what I would have done at the very beginning of it. Like, they're gigantic, so they just run up there and they like knock the horse over. And now he's on 2 feet, they're on 2 feet, and they're battling out. So he has no shot here. He's running this place. He's evil and he's smart for a reason. So he pulls out his crossbow, right? And he's just going to shoot them. And they just drop their weapons. They're like, bring it. Look at this ugly ass human being right here. He's like, just look at the stupidest still of the movie. This is the one that died, by the way, too. He's just looking at him like, he drops the sword like, come on, let's go. And this guy's got a crossbow. You're going to die. I thought we was going to get a scene where like one of them like shows their reflexes and they grab the arrow out of the air, sort of like what that dude did in Final Exam.
That's what I was about to say. I thought we was going to get a Final Exam scene, Ronnie, where they catch the arrow and like throw it back at him or something like that. But let me ask you something here. I did pay attention to this scene, kinda. Did the crossbow misfire, or did he forget he had 3 fingers and he couldn't pull the trigger?
That's the climax of this movie for everybody that's watching right now or watching this video post live or whenever. Richard Lynch, Kadar, who had 3 fingers bitten off, well, what will we guess, Blake? 12 to 15 years prior?
It depends on your theory. I say okay. 3 years.
So let's say those little kids were 11. It's been 10 years. They're 21. They're supposed to be 21, okay? Or they were 8, and they're supposed to be 18 now. It's still been 10 years. He hasn't had 3 fingers in 10 years. He pulls the crossbow out, and he's finna let him have it. And then he goes to pull the trigger and realizes he doesn't have a finger. That's not us making a joke. That's what really happens. Richard Lynch, Kadar, the big evil. Do you know Great Evil? He forgets he doesn't have a trigger finger.
Yeah, it's not the ending that we deserved, but it's the ending. It's the ending we got, Ronnie. So
we needed. So
yeah,
he goes to pull the trigger, and there's nothing there. There's nothing there. It would have been great if it was like Unforgiven and it was a misfire. All right. So,
so you're thinking Clint Eastwood saw this movie and stole the misfire gimmick for Unforgiven?
Without a doubt. He said, we're going to have a misfire when little Bob comes up in the saloon. It's going to be just like when Kadar forgot he had fingers. And there you go. And of course, the Barbarian Brothers, when they figure this out, double swords right through him.
Yeah.
This dude he's got kebabbed. And look at that piece down there he's sporting. So, you know why this guy was master of the universe for so long.
Well, yeah, it's clear as day. I can't stop looking at it.
And of course, and now because of these 2 jacked up guys, we're back. Amazing Larry, the blonde chick, Paul Rubens, and now instead of Canary, we got Kara. They ride up, and I'm guessing now the circus is back, and they're going to be going from town to town, bringing joy. And like you said, it's nothing offensive at all about that guy being a Native American over there. I don't know what to say.
This is a very happy ending. Everybody, they're ready to spread joy and music and colors, because that was a big deal with the Mongoloid brothers. Is they're like, when they were in the woods, they were like, "There's no colors out here."
Where did all the colors go?
So yeah, it's a great ending. It's a great ending to a horrible movie.
And of course, they got to do the gimmick there at the end. The one guy is got the reins, and he's like, and this other guy's got the whip, and he's like, I want the reins, you take the whip. And then he hands it over, and he's like, he's having more fun. So the guy on the left is the more fun-loving guy, and the guy on the right's the the D head, and then she's just off in La La Land. I get to be the queen of this circus tribe, and now I've got magic for some reason. They don't really explain it.
Is she the sister?
Yeah, she's the sister. It turns out that, you know, she's Kara. She's the other member of the tribe.
Yeah, I mean, I knew she was the third orphan, but I didn't know if she was specifically their sister or not.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming
you don't have like a live video of them riding the horse, do you? A clip of that?
No, I don't have a live video. But I do have this. Hold on a second. Because we talked about it, and before we go back to the other view, these guys were like the original entrepreneurs. They wanted to do everything. We talked about this at the beginning of the video, and they would go to the opening of an umbrella if they were asked to be there. And I found this video right here, Blake, and this is the one that died. This is one that died a couple of years ago, and he had a rough go about it because he really wanted to be famous forever. And I couldn't find anything on the other guy, but check this out real quick.
Frequent visitor to Gold's, David Paul of the notorious Barbarian Brothers.
The reason we first came to California was we wanted to be the best bodybuilders. See, I was from the East Coast, from Rhode Island. Rhode Island is the smallest state in the United States. In fact, it's so small that last year they had the entire state carpeted.
Man, there's nothing I love more than comedy. And let me tell you, like these guys do it all. I mean, they've proven that you're slowly turning me, Ronnie, of like how talented these guys are. I mean, they start off bodybuilding, and then they go into the magazines, and now they're getting movie roles, and now they're going into comedy. I mean, forget about it, dude.
What's going on, Frank? Frank's in the chat. Only this channel will be talking about sweaty, old up men with shiny pointing spears. You got that right. So the whole place was carpeted. These jokes are the best. And he's got more, Blake. Watch this.
Just kidding. Anyway, we came out here because the reason we...
He's just kidding, by the way. They didn't really carpet Rhode Island. He just had to let you know. I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. Anyway, we came out here because the reason we came out here is we wanted to just get...
What is this hair? What's this hair? What is this? I mean,
we came out here because the reason we came out here.
What is this hair? What is he doing? I mean, this hair is great. Look, now I'll tell you right now, I have no hair, but the Barbarian Brothers hair, I know this is probably wigs they were sporting. I don't think it was wigs they were sporting here in the
No, it's not wigs, man. It's natural.
So that's amazing hair. You got the headband look and things like that. That's amazing. Okay. What is this right here?
Just kidding. Anyway, we came out here because the reason we came out here is we wanted to just get big and break the stereotypes of bodybuilders, that they're gay, narcissistic, that they look strong but they're weak. But we tried, but they were all true, so we couldn't break the stereotype. No.
We wanted to break the stereotype that they were gay. Cut to the two brothers kissing in this movie. It's fantastic, man. These guys are the best. I'm gonna have to look them up on YouTube now. What other stuff have they done?
Dude, he was rolling with it too. Here's the last part, I promise.
What happened?
Look how happy he is. He just told that. He's told two whoppers in a row.
I can appreciate somebody who laughs at their own jokes. As someone who does that, like when you pop yourself, you know you've got a good one.
You know he's working on his stand-up routine too, because hey, we come from a state so small they carpeted it. Oh, stuff like that. So here he is, right here. This dude has tickled himself.
I said, what's going on? What can I do? I've been hopping.
What's going on? I won't stop it again. What is happening?
In the chat, Frank said the cocaine must have been flowing on this set. Frank, you're wrong, buddy. I have you know that these two, the Paul brothers, they're part of the 9 ancestral tenets. They follow that just like they're the original Liver King, brother.
Hey, Miguel Hevia. How do you spell that, Blake? Or how do you pronounce that, Blake? You know,
that's pronounced Hevia.
Hevia. He says Conan the Barbarian. Well, that's what this movie was probably based off of. Can you imagine if we had the technology, if they had the technology back then, that they would have like digitally had 2 Arnolds in a movie?
Well, no, Ronnie, see, I don't that's a terrible idea. But what's a better idea is assembling these two with Arnold to bring like an adventure style movie together. I mean, then you have all three of them in the same movie as Barbarians. It's oh man, like there's a money idea that was wasted.
Yeah, Frank, he died a couple of years ago, and he was really bad off there at the very end, drugs and things like that.
I said, what's going on? What can I do? I've been hopping around like a kangaroo. No, so what happened was, these guys are laughing. I mean, this is serious stuff, bodybuilding.
Yeah, I tried to reach out to the surviving brother, and I couldn't find him anywhere. I was going to see if he wanted to come on the show and talk, but he doesn't have a Twitter handle, and I have no other way to contact him besides landline.
Landline. So, you know, I was going to bring up some more stuff, and I didn't, just because the last video I found of it's David, the one that passed away. He had taken to like go into college campuses, and he was calling himself the Barbarian, and he would like just scream nonsense. And of course, nobody's going to walk up to him and say anything because he wasn't as jacked as he was then, but he was still pretty big. And he openly talked about the steroids that he used, and you know, just tough situation. But I will tell you this:
they were on steroids.
Yeah, they're not natural. They had something about them, and I guess it was just because they were roided to the max. But they could catch your attention. They could catch your attention, and there's nothing like two twins that are jacked up and looks like they ought to be in what's the name of the movie, Blake? I mean, the name of the video game, Blake? Double Dragon. They look like it should be a couple of guys from Double Dragon that you'd have to beat before you got to the main boss. So
yeah, I mean, these two, Double Dragon, Contra, these two, you're right. These two, you've convinced me, brother. These two they're the 80s. They're what the 80s all about. It's not about Arnold. It's about the Paul brothers, the Barbarian brothers. And you know what? I've turned a new leaf, or whatever you want to say. Let's do Think Big. Let's do Double Trouble, and let's review Twin Sitters, where they're both babysitters. I want to everything that these guys have touched. I want to review television appearances that these guys have been on. I want to do everything with the Paul brothers.
Well, I mean, we went from the beginning of this review where you said, don't give me any more movies like this, to now you want to do their whole IMDb. And the thing about it is they're the same characters in every movie. One's always down on his luck, idiot, a hard worker. The other one's always like an FBI agent.
You're describing Arnold Schwarzenegger, same character every movie. So bring it. Let's go.
Hey, look, I'm all for it. All right, Blake, The Barbarians, 1987. What do you rank it?
Just for the scene of them riding the horses and the nudity, I'm giving it a 3 out of 10.
Okay, so here he goes. Frank, you said a what out of 10?
This is a 3 out of 10 because I love the scene of them riding the horses and all the nudity.
All right, so Frank's throwing out another movie we really like. I have a feeling that the Paul brothers were also the twins from the movie Necessary Roughness with Scott Bakula. You didn't have to throw in Scott Bakula, Frank. We know all about Necessary Roughness. Got the VHS. Those were completely different twins. Those look like a sweeter set of twins. So that definitely wasn't the Barbarian Brothers. They couldn't pony up the money for the Barbarian Brothers.
They couldn't afford that. And
not in
was
91.
it 90? Oh, it was 91? Okay. Yeah, they definitely
91.
couldn't afford the Barbarian Brothers in 91.
All right, so there's a lot of things I want to talk about real quick, Blake. I know I put this movie on the list to review. I like the scenery. I think it's beautiful. I like the set. I think the story is pretty good. I think with the right director and the right actors, two kids trained to fight each other that later, come through and team up and then go after the bad guy who maybe captured their mother. Maybe they were the princes of this kingdom, would be a great movie, but that's not this movie. So as much as I love the He-Man element to this movie, this is a 1 out of 10. The everything about it's awful. The circus at the very beginning of it did pop me with the guy blowing the fire in their face. Where do you get the stuff to constantly blow the fire? And the guy throwing the axes. What are you gonna do after you throw the axes and miss, dude? So there's a lot of sword play in this movie with like Richard Lynch, like stabbing the ladies in the gut and things like that. That was kind of crazy. 1 out of 10. Barbarian Brothers they are a lot of fun to watch, but you can only take so much, sort of like the steroids that were going through their body.
Yeah, I mean, we've made history tonight, Ronnie. This is the first time I've ever ranked a movie higher than you. So,
oh, there you go. So next week, let's talk about it really quickly. We're going to be doing Groundhog Day on Groundhog Day. So make sure you are here with us. I think this is one of the most populated streams we've had to date, Blake. So make sure you're here with us same time next week as we talk about Bill Murray and Groundhog Day. In my opinion, a really good movie. Blake's got a lot of questions and theories about this movie. There's lots of things we can talk about. Bring your questions to the mix. Guys watching this after the live show, hit us in the comments with any questions you got. Hit that like button because apparently they say that does something for the video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Go back through our archives, check our old videos, check our shorts. That didn't sound right. And if
is that a plug? Is that a free plug right there?
That is a free plug. So I'm getting more and more on the Bud train. Shape of Horror Podcast is a really good channel. He seems like he went from calling us names to now he seems like he's a really good dude. So if you haven't subscribed to Bud's channel, the Shape of Horror Podcast, head over there and subscribe to that channel. And as always, thank you guys for watching. And we've got some really exciting ideas coming in the future. Some of you will get it, what we're doing. Some of you will go, what the heck are they doing? But our channel's not just the standard cookie cutter channel. We want to have fun. So we're going to bring you guys the Twitch horror show here in the next week or two. So just stand by for what's going to be the most interactive horror show you've ever seen. All right. Blake, anything else before we wrap it up?
No, man, you pretty much covered it. This was fun. You made this review fun. It was a hell of a lot more fun than watching the movie.
Look at those guys back there, man. Look at that. They're jacked. That is some good. I mean, steroids or not, that is some good. That is some good genes. I love Frank.
What did he say?
Right. He said, "Why start being entertaining now?" So, for Blake, I'm Ronnie. We'll see you guys next time.
So long, everybody.